And g'day there, welcome. I hope you're all well. Thank you so much for joining us on this fabulous Sunday for our weather waffle. Welcome to those people who are new. Hopefully, you're getting me nice and loud and clear. Our new setup. I've had a very busy day, I can tell you that. Some drama, smashing a table. Oh my God, it was been one of those days. But we are here, thank God. Hopefully, it is working. Everything looks to be working. And we are away. We've got a bit of a new format tonight, so we're going to sort of mix up a bit. We're not going to sort of dwell a lot on everything. We're going to talk about lots of things. We're going to look at obviously the what's happened, what's coming up ahead, looking at some rainfall stuff. We're going to look at the climate gossip and see what's going on there, and then we're going to look at some of the weather, what the actual, and we're going to start looking at some of the more out there, outlandish, weird calls, interesting posts from the weather community, but a whole range of stuff. So, you've got some people you'd like to submit that we're going to have a look at and or watch together and we can have a chat about. Submit them through. So every week we're going to look at, it could be weird comments, it could be weird posts by, the usual clickbaiters who are trying to get everybody's attention, the super mega death, El Nino type peoples. But we got a good one tonight. The old dueling weather pages having the blue, which I always love, sitting back and watching that from the sideline. I hope you're well. Just a quick shout out to Mr. Well. Thank you, Max, for looking after the chat again. Thanks so much for your help. We really appreciate it. Mr. the Mayor of Camden, thank you. Well, the unofficial mayor, I should say, before I get myself in trouble. Lovely to see you guys. Thank you. Lovely, Rachel. Lovely to see you. Going down the list, we got, that's all we've got so far. Anyone else has joined us, you're welcome as well. Make sure you drop a like, subscribe. That really helps the channel. We get to then, I think it's Larry Page. I said the other week I said it was Jeff Bezos, but it's not. He owns Amazon, doesn't he? Not Google. Google's I think Larry Page or some guy like that. But anyway, we'll take it out of his pocket as well. But let's go on. Enough chatting. Let's get on with it. So obviously we're going to look at first of all where everything's coming up, what's going on, and let's go. So new graphics, love it, like it, and let's go. All right, so this is obviously what we've got going here this week. Just today, obviously, I'm trying to catch up with my brain. Not much is happening. You can see we're under this ridge of high pressure system, and it's keeping things nice and stable and all lovely and fine. And we can see broadly across Australia, it really is keeping much of the continent the same. And there's not real helping. We actually might just pop back just a little couple of frames so we actually get some view on what's coming for us. So the main features really are is this really this area here, this very patch of cold air in our upper system, and these upper systems have been pretty busy and hectic this whole season, and that's obviously great, but it'd be nice if they actually did something for us. But this is it here. Another upper mid trough. You can see not a lot of moisture because you can see there's definitely a gap there, and there's not moisture. If we look at the water vapor, which we will, you'll see I can make this bit just a tad smaller. You'll see it's not connected to anything. You can see again, this is the water vapor image, and that obviously shows water across the obviously across the atmosphere. And you'll see this this disconnect here that I'm talking about. Yeah, let's go get this on so you guys can see it. And you can see there's plenty of dry air coming through here. You can see this is the polar weather here, water there. And these greens and these oranges, that's upper cloud, but that's obviously moisture in the upper levels. It's obviously very cold. And you can see some, upper level moisture here, but you can see very much this is sort of on its own, which means as it moves through, it's going to kick off some showers, hopefully for us. Probably late. Well, models are still arguing about it. They're seeing some Monday, Tuesday, but we'll look at those very shortly. Otherwise, that's about it. If we go clearing ahead, you can see really there's another bridge building behind it, which is this fine area here. And then there's this other system approaching WA. Now, if you remember, the rule of thumb generally is if it's active over here, it's going to be pretty quiet for us. So there's nothing really on the horizon, and that's pretty much what we said last week about June being dry, and so far it's pretty much coming to fruition. And we'll look at the other models very soon. They're obviously out now, the other range of the non-American ones, because there seems to be quite a bit divided between the American ones and the rest of the world type ones, but we'll look at them and see what they've got to say for themselves. But otherwise, yeah, that's not much happening. Obviously, the past week it's been pretty coolish, but not overly coolish. So it's been pretty much just average, actually, not really exciting. Let's have a look at the rain coming this week. So we're going to quickly go have a look at ECW here. We'll go back. Now, I think I know EC does it everything in 12-hour blobs, but we'll just go here and we'll just play it for you. This is basically the next few days, and hopefully EC loads, but you can see, well, it's going to do that to us. There's not a lot. There's showers here you can see, and that's attached to that trough and upper system that I've been telling you about coming through. Um, and you can see it's kicking off some stuff across there, but there's nothing really heavy. Of course, the northeast coast is going to do pretty all right again. Surprise, surprise. Come on, you can see inland is going to get some decent showers again, which is always great to see. And some pretty heavy falls in the southwest Queensland and sort of northern New South Wales as it drags down a little bit of tropical moisture, but it's not enough if EC's going to do this ridiculous game. Um, let's just pause and go back so we get some continuity. But you can see here, so Monday, nothing really happened, much happened for us. We'll kick into Tuesday. You can see those showers start to build now. Don't forget, 15 UTC and 21 UTC is actually Tuesday morning, early Tuesday morning. So it says Monday, but it's actually Tuesday. You can see stuff starts to build, but it's not overly exciting and it's not overly heavy for us. And if we look at the, you can see it's like 1 to 5 mils. So, don't get too excited about it. But you see most of the stuff will actually be to the west as atypical when we're in quite a zonal situation, which is stuff's moving from west to east, which we are at the moment. And continuing good rain for out there. So I'm really happy for that for them. Lovely for them, and not much for us. But you can see after that, aerial gets accumulation, but you can see us, we're pretty much, it's just not much happening at all. And as I said, once this little burst of upper cooler temps slides off to the east, there's quite a strong ridge coming behind. Again, this activity over in WA, you can see, if we look at the rainfall, again, you can see it's pretty good, 50 to 100 mils. And again, the rule of thumb, if they're active, we're not. And it's just the way the patterns are. You think about it, that for WA to be active like that, normally you have to have like a trough on that sort of side or the back end of the high. So of course, if it's over one side, the opposite's going to be on the other. So if the trough's over here, then we've got obviously the other side of the flow. So the drier, boring, ridgy type flow, which is what we've got. So once this stuff clears through Tuesday, sort of Wednesday, we'll be back to fine conditions generally. Plenty of sun around. Still be quite nippy though. There's still a lot of cold air, especially left behind by these systems here, the sort of dead cold air. But it is what it is. We thought we are going to get a wet, dry June, and so far it's sort of living up to that. Otherwise, there's not a roll happening this week, and we will pull up. We'll pull up Windy and have a look at exactly what timing they think it is. So I'll just move you across so we don't block you guys totally in the chat. Yeah, it's nothing exciting. Don't delay any plans for it, unfortunately. It is what it is at the moment. We're in a pretty stuck in boring pattern. There's no major climate drivers. The SAM's dead, the IOD's dead, the ENZO's in the middle of getting changed in the dressing room, so not much we're going to see about it. This is anything that's interesting because the EC is sort of going for stuff tomorrow now, and I'm not sure about that. I don't think any else is. And you can see GFS is not. Icon's definitely not. It's going stuff offshore, but that's not unusual because it's got that sort of pre-trophy sort of sky, a bit of lightning up there, which is just can show that colder air moving across. And EC is the only one that's really excited about it. Access C definitely has nothing for us at all. Definitely, well, I mean, maybe a shower, like a very isolated shower, coastal shower. But when you see something like that, it's unlikely to happen. There's no real strong signal there, as you can see. But what it is tipping off is that some of that cold air will go across tomorrow night. So we should have a reasonable day tomorrow, and then we'll move into sort of Monday night, maybe Tuesday, and obviously things will get a bit dodgier. But again, like not everyone is going for any decent fall. So and it's the usual skipathon with us. Unfortunately, the Great Dividing Range filtering out most of the activity. You can see here, Axis is not even keen at all for anything. We'll go here and we'll get the more wider view for everybody. Um, better one here, and we can see here. I mean, icons that are going for some showers. EC is just going for, I think it's gone taking a blue pill probably. Meteor Blue, which is obviously it's the AI model, uses a bit of EC data, but does its own sort of thing. You can see Axis is not interested in whatsoever. So obviously us versus them sort of situation. You've got the Euros versus the Aussies and the Americans again, which is quite what the climate's doing at the moment. GFS is like something like Tuesday night. I don't know. It's when you have this timing issue like this and things are going back and forward and they're prevaricating and they can't really make their minds up what the hell's going on. It's best to say, look, if we get something, we get something. Otherwise, don't expect too much. And that's just the way it is. Zonal flow, west to east, rain shadow effect, all that sort of stuff kicking in. But I noticed that towards the end of the week, they're sort of going for a bit of stuff, a bit of rain. I think that's again a bit of hyperventilating about some cloud band going through again. I think they're overestimating something coming from a cloud band from the west. And yeah, Axis is probably going to get closer this time. As we can see here, and Axis now is going, oh yes, it's going to be wet, and EC is going like, no, well, the other day you said it wasn't going to be wet, so guess what? It's not going to be wet now for this time. So I guess what if you're looking at this and you're thinking, what the hell? Really, what it's just showing is that it's a timing and a pattern thing. So they're really just different. They don't agree on the timing of these systems moving through, and of course, the slight shift in these systems, the way they move through, can make a difference between zero for us or a couple of mils. But all in all, don't be excited at all for anything this week. And we get 5 mils for the whole week, then happy. Gets more than 5 mils, even happier. Um, that's the week that's coming ahead, unfortunately. But temps will be reasonably chilly too, because that's colder air left behind. Um, will sort of drag things down. Although Axis, of course, is going for its usual, like everything's going to bake and die, and enjoy that. But yeah, again, this is it's the real difficulty we get when the models are so different on these timing issues, and just exactly that, because they throw out these really wild temperature forecasts, and you got to really sit down and try and work out, okay, where's this going to be at? Where's it going to look at? Um, and like even for last night when we saw the inner west get down to 2 degrees, which is lovely and crispy. No model had that whatsoever. I went out and limb and actually forecast that, because the coldest I saw was 6 degrees. So I mean they were 4 degrees wrong. And then when they struggle in resolving this sort of stuff, and they struggle in resolving these patterns, and which always makes me skeptical about them. Then somehow magically getting the longer term patterns correct, and the end of the earth stuff. It's very frustrating. If you can't get 24 hours right, you're not going to get 24 years right. Sorry, it's just the way it is. And people say, but 24 hours is a lot, more difficult because it's a lot more. It's like baloney. It's the same principle. Okay, maybe it's not every hour when you're looking 24 years ahead, but really, if if it's struggling to pick up the difference in the nuances in a change moving through, and the temperature differences that are with that, even just radiational cooling at night time, it's not picking that up at all, and it's 4 degrees warmer than it should be. What does it say about general forecasts that have come out? It's leaning towards the warmer side. You know, it is what it is. I bang my head against the wall. Anyway, that's it. That's the week ahead coming. Again, ridge, boring, maybe a shower. Deal with it. We'll deal with it. Cry in our sleep. It is what it is. We're all. But at least, our friends and the OGs from Lower Port got their boat show, had a great weekend. Perfect sunny, crystal blue skies, great temperatures, not much wind, so I'm assuming the river would have been absolutely glassy. I did hear that, like, I hope there was a bit of an incident or something the other day, but I hope they're all okay, because after all this stuff over a number of years with the floods and bits and pieces, the last thing we wanted to happen was something to get shut down because of something happening. So I really hope that everything worked out for them, because they massively deserve a break. And shout out to Tracy and the gang if you're on or listening. Um, yeah, hopefully everything went out for it. You've made it for the last couple of years, and you had the best weekend, because you guys deserve it. You've hung in there for a long period of time. Um, So let's have a look at, all right. So we're going to move out now. We'll go away from just this week. I'm going to look at the wires now. what's coming up for ahead. We obviously it's going to look at the models, the climate models. There's me just pondering out the window, looking at a Category 5 hurricane coming towards us. And eat, sleep, weather, repeat. It's actually not. That's pretty much what I do. Alrighty, let's go. So we're going to have a look at. So quickly check the temperatures. I forgot about that. I actually had on my list to check out and forget it. But anyway, pretty much close to being on forecast. Terry Hall's got the minimum 18.8. And nearly everybody sat in that lovely, comfortable 20 range. Mascot, and interestingly, was only 19.9, which is unusual for that, given the general geostrophic flow today. It wasn't a lot of wind around at all. Normally, it sort of excels in these tarmac situations. But another thing you can see is that look at that air pressure, 1,030. But you probably can't see it anyway. It's a bit small. It's just what cold air does to you. 1,030. Yeah, that's it's a pretty good slab of air compressing and falling on top of us from a high. Um, yeah, it's a decent ridge of high pressure. That's why it's been so lovely and pleasant. We'll see how much it drops tomorrow as this upper system moves through. As you can see, what I showed before in the sat peak, there's not a lot of juice in it. So back to high pressure winning the day. All right, here we go. We're going to have a look at the updated rainfall outlook now, and this is obviously attached to the recent updates for the climate center Copernicus as well as EC, which came out on the 1st of June. So we've crunched that data now, and of course they've got a completely different picture to what CFS had, which is the obviously the American models. And interestingly, I noticed that Copernicus doesn't use any of the American models whatsoever. Well, I thought NCEP was actually a US model. Could someone confirm that in the chat for me? I thought that was a US model, but and half my brains, I used to be like, I'm sure it was a Navy model and NCEP, but I'm not sure anymore. If it is, it would be the only one they do actually use. The rest, it's all JMA, it's all the Euros, and even now BOM get a run in good old Copernicus. So what we're looking at here is actually what's called the C3S, which is basically all of those global climate models all crunched in to one lovely little picture for you. And it's giving dryness, more dryness, and a little bit extra dryness on top of your dryness, except for the coastal areas. And you can see here for June. June is pretty much what we saw last week in terms of dry. I think everybody's pretty consistent running with that. Yeah, looking ahead to, so not much to look there. We can skip on that. July is the interesting one because we remember, like we saw last week, the CFS models had a bit more of a wetter forecast, especially around here. Now, yeah, I think this has just been removed on this graphic image, actually. I think there's still, if I remember when I looked at EC, there was still a patch of above average there. And of course, that's pretty significant in terms of, when you look at patterns and you're looking for what's going to be causing the rain. Obviously, you can't actually tell exactly what, but you can look at patterns, in where the precipitation is accumulated. You can say, right, if the greens on this side of the Great Dividing Range, northwest cloud band, pretty zonal weather coming through this way, and hitting the Great Dividing Range and drying out, etc., etc. And then, of course, you can see if the greens on this side of the, I have to make that smaller. It said no person ever, but I need to make that smaller. How do I make that smaller? Because that's too fat. Oh, there's no. If it's on this side of the, look at that cute little arrow. Then you can assume that it's obviously some sort of north-south event, obviously, at this time of year, and it would be a coastal trough, Tasman low, maybe an ECL. The way the upper systems are going at the moment, it's a bit hard to tell. So you can see here that there is just a patch of pretty much about average across here for July and also in August. And that's good news. But the bad news, obviously, is that everybody knows that July and August aren't necessarily our wettest month. June is one of our wettest months. These aren't that wet in terms of that, but still we'll take whatever we can get. And again, this is just another model's perspective of it. So we'll see who's right come the end of June, but this is the other perspective. And I'm not sure. It just yeah, it's difficult to sort of merge the two, isn't it? When you see one is completely like sort of, saying, yep, above average, and one is like saying, meh. Just welcome to the frustration of this trash, and you have to work out things. I think that's so what you then look for is you step back and you look at the global drivers, you look at the climate drivers like Enzo, you look at IOD, you look at SAM. Is there any sort of sudden stratospheric warming event coming up? Is that going to impact maybe push up cold dry air, drag down more tropical air? You just start factoring all those things in, because if there's not one model giving you a good clear direction as to what's happening, then you can pretty much say that there's going to be local factors determining a lot of this stuff, which means a lot of the shortwave cold fronts we've been seeing whipping up from the south. Tasman's a bit warmer, picks up a bit of moisture, especially if we're in a bit more of a meridional flow, which is that north-south situation. Can get some rain out of that, can get some lows out of that, but we'll just have to wait and see. But otherwise, yeah, drier, drier. And then we'll have a quick look at temperatures. You can imagine, of course, shock horror. Temperatures are, of course, leaning towards being warmer than usual, but not significantly, which is good. June obviously is because of dry, and June is obviously normally, as I said, that wettest month. So there's normally a lot of cloud around, a lot of humidity around, which means the temperatures are suppressed by that. And without the cloud around, of course, we're getting full sunlight effect. And I expect that this is a lot of mainly daytime stuff. I think nighttime will be definitely below average across most of the basin, especially with the radiational cooling and the cool nights we've been getting. Um, it may balance itself out when it gets towards, it might not be as significant, this sort of what we see, this anomaly here, but we'll see. Get to the end of it. Again, of course, July and August, if it's going to be below average, or yeah, below average rainfall, then you can met your bottom dollar. Temperatures are obviously going to be a little bit warmer because there's plenty more sun, and the days that are balanced out by cloud cover and bits and pieces aren't going to be as frequent, which means you get a bit more obviously thermal impacts upon the basin. Nothing to do with climate. It's got the fact to do with there's no cloud cover. Alrighty, let's have a look now at what the drivers are doing. So this is the 3.4 Nina, which I've mentioned to you last week, is the one that really influences that. And you can see it's starting to push now above into El Nino territory. And I noticed that the bureaus put out an El Nino watch just the other day, and they expect it to form by the end of winter, or very soon. Normally spring is when these things start to kick off, so we'll see. The interesting thing though is at the very end of this, you can see there's just a little hesitation and a stop and almost like a flattening out a bit. So I don't think it's the a lay down misere as it's been made out to be, but we'll see. The interesting thing is that you can see over the past few years we've been cool, neutral, or cool quite a few of the events. Except for that one last year, we can see that there was this apparent warming in 24 when we had decent wet seasons. So it just goes to show. I mean, that was +2, that's pretty decent, and yet we didn't have anywhere near the impacts that you would normally see from +2. So don't believe all these people who are running around saying doom gloom and mega super dead El Nino coming. It's horses for courses. The contextual. It will always depend upon what other influences are playing at the same time. A whole lot of water goes under the bridge in this stuff. And you can think back to this one here, like for example, that was a reasonably weak El Nino, and if I remember, the impacts are reasonably moderate to strong in some respects. So it just goes to show it's not always just about this raw data here. It's a bigger picture you need to look at, and there's people who just go and parrot this mega El Nino because there's some red and the line goes up a little bit, really do themselves a disservice, and they do the whole weather community disservice, because they are just clickbaiting and getting into hyperbolic language just to try and zip up everybody and get their attention and get their page looked at. That's all it is. And it's stupid and it's silly, and we're gonna call them out when we need to. All right, let's have a look at the SOI, which is basically, again, don't forget, it's the measure of the air pressure between Tahiti and Darwin, and generally speaking, it's measuring the Walker circulation, which is the circulation that covers that Pacific, what we mentioned last week. And normally positive values equal La Nina and negative values equal El Nino. And you can see here, this is the sort of the monthly averages. So this we include daily fluctuation, that sort of stuff. So don't get too excited about this, but it's been a pretty significant drop. And we can see pressures over at Tahiti start to rise, and the pressure, sorry, fall, and the pressures near Darwin start to rise. Now, the thing that needs to be remembered too is that it's also contextual. It's the time of year when you're going to see pressures in Darwin rise because the dry season's there, and they're getting, ridges pushing up through and feeding the monsoon in the northern hemisphere. So, of course, you're going to see this impact. Um, what they're looking at though is where it's sustained significant drop like that, that's when you start looking at pattern wise. The ups and downs, the perturbations you can see here is, normally these are ridges going through. So each one of these ones here would be, a ridge going through, fitting into the northern monsoon, etc. But that big drop there, that's a pretty significant shift away from, a atmosphere that's been dominated by cooling and now heading into a warming environment. And you can see it had a bit of a pause and then it's resumed its warming there, which is, I think, it's what's fueling this mega El Nino trash. But again, it's contextual. We'll see what ends up, and there's no doubt it's going to be a moderate El Nino. But what its impacts will be is still unwritten. Yeah. And this is the IOD. As I mentioned last week, it is really doing not much at this stage. Interestingly, if you recall last week, I mentioned that the Bureau did say that it would sort of stay neutral, negative, and neutral, sorry, and then maybe pop into the positive by the end of winter. Well, of course, when the Bureau says something, you can bet the opposite's going to happen because it turned negative, which is making a bit more moisture available for the continent, which I think we've been seeing across these rainfall events. And I think we're going to see this week with this other trough coming through in the next few days. Bit more moisture pumping into those things to give those the inland areas a bit more rain, which is great. Keeps the creeks and dams full, and helps them as we approach the driest part of the year, which is that August, September, and into October part, which is when really the El Nino will start to bite as well. So if they've got some good full dams and creeks are still running, that really makes a whole lot of difference for them. So fingers crossed. But yeah, that's interesting sort of twist to the old IOD. But again, I looked at some of the other forecasts going out. The IOD is a bit like the SAM. There's not a real lot of decent sort of outlook products in it. No one sort of gives a care about it. IOD's picked up, I think, in the last few years in relation to its importance about fitting and the teleconnections it has with other things like Enzo, for example. There's been a lot of talk about waters from Enzo or the Pacific throwing through Indonesia through the Indonesian flow through and connecting with the IOD and influencing the IOD as well in terms of being positive or negative, because if you remember, the ID is a measurement of the sea surface anomalies between the waters off the northwest of Australia, WA, and then off the Yemen or something like that, way over in Africa. And they measure those two spots there, and that's the differences there. Basically, say one's and positive, one's negative. Yeah, we'll see. But there's not a lot of it. Yeah, ID is still not well studied, much like the SAM, which is a good segue into that now. And Sam continues to bounce around. And you can see that positive kick up that I mentioned last week too is what helped drive a bit of that event. And you can see it's still staying reasonably positive. And then again, the Bureau expecting that to dip down back into this in this neutral zone here, and it didn't happen. So I think that will also definitely help provide a bit of extra oomph to this event coming up this week, especially for the inland areas. And yeah, positive SAM does tend to definitely help those zonal uh, west to east moving systems as well. So you can see pretty much there. I don't know. I'm not. I like watching the SAM because obviously it's important for us because it gives us some decent information. But it's for me, it tends to be fairly reactive. It's very rare. It's rarely predictive or forecasting. Whereas Enzo and IOD, you can get some sort of glimpse into ahead, but with Sam, it's just all over the place. You can see here the frequency is just up and down, up and down, up and down. And I just don't think you can read too much into the sand. I think this is more a reactive, outlook than it is actually anything else, to be honest. It often it's giving a reason why something's happened as opposed to looking ahead in the future and saying this is what may be potential, for example. Um, other than that, going ahead. All right, so let's have a look. We'll get out of there, and what we can do now is um, I'm going to. This is NASA's actually put this out. This is a recent look at the warming of the ENSO zones. If you remember, I showed you last week with the zones where you've basically got 4 here, 3.4 here. You got 2. You got 3. Sorry, and then 2, and then 1's over here. And obviously, each of these zones has criticality for us, and also obviously the Eastern Pacific as well, in terms of Patagonia and of course California, bits and pieces like that. And you can see in those last frames here, there's quite a lot of upwelling coming up. But it's I don't know. I think that it's not lay down misere. Like, I showed you last week, and that they've still got that SST things that the temperatures, the warmer temperatures, which are driving the Enzo event, are going to actually regress or retrograde back towards the east midway through our summer, which is not normally a thing. So it'd be interesting to watch. And generally, what this also does indicate, and which is not made you aware, and when people look at this stuff and they just post these lovely graphs and they wax lyrical about it and try and hype you up and tell you that death's coming, is that it's actually quite usual to get westerly wind bursts this time of year. So these warmer temperatures are actually caused by westerly winds flowing across the top of the water, and then underneath, if I can change it to a blue, maybe, yep, underneath, it causes the cold air to go down and this warmer water to pool. Um, and it's not unusual this time of year. The seasons are changing. Yeah, the monsoons shifted into the northern hemisphere now. You've got typhoon and tropical activity up here in the Sea of Japan and the South China Sea and bits and pieces like that. It's not unusual to see these westerly wind bursts happening. I guess we'll see if they're sustained. I mean, obviously they're thinking they're going to be, but even if you look at this now, you can see yourself that there's no real pattern to it. Like, you expect to see if Enzo was building, you'd hope it was like just that. Yeah, you normally get that tongue of warmer water that comes out and starts in the east, obviously near the Galapagos, and it sort of starts and builds just about like we see here, and then it sort of pushes out, right across, and you sort of get that sort of look for it. And this is all sort of above average and warm, that sort of stuff. And then you find that over on the western end here, it's actually cooler. Um, which obviously then also hinders rainfall as well. Um, but we're not seeing that pattern yet. Obviously, it's still only May, or this is only from May, so we'll see if that classic sort of signal comes about, or if what happens. They're just all crying boy, crying wolf again. But we'll see. Um, I wanted to go back. I wanted to show you this post here. Um, This is from a great page called Haruki Golf Weather. And someone asked me last week about the Antarctic Oscillation, or the Southern Stratospheric Warming Event. And I've been monitoring too. These guys are actually great. They're a New Zealand. They're not actually a New Zealand like government service. I think they're a New Zealand private Met service. But they may, yeah, and they do focus a lot on the polar jet and the stratospheric warming events, which is great. I tend to read their stuff and when I'm researching as well, because they explain things quite well. They have flagged not an SSW, but definitely a disturbance in the polar vortex, which is not unusual actually. They tend to happen quite frequently in winter, and you get these bulge, what they call elongated vortexes, which they can bring up colder air, and then of course on the wraparound side is a lot warmer air. So again, this is we're watching, and I think this is what's going to sort of is what's actually impacting WA at the moment. We can saw that long wave trough coming through. I don't think we're going to get much out of it, to be honest. I think it's going to slip away again. But I mean, obviously, it's important for New Zealand because these things will can drag quite severe, decent cold air for them for their ski season, but also quite strong and severe winds, and the risks of flooding and on the west coast, and obviously low Tasman lows and bits and pieces like that. So um, yeah, I thought it was fast, bit good timing. And I did actually then go and look at the vortex as well, and these are the weekly mean anomalies, and this is a pretty standard picture um, for this time of year. We're now in winter. You expect to see this the vortex just looking like this. There's no real areas of warming, and you can see actually this patch here, which is that what the Haruki weather will actually just flag in then about that elongated vortex. That's the evidence of that. And you can see that cold air. Now this is, don't forget, this is like way up in the atmosphere, so that's not necessarily coming down the surface. But it does actually impact the surface because obviously if it's cold up here, then you can get the warmer down the surface and vice versa. And of course, this warmer patch here has been responsible for our cold weather we've had, recently, and obviously it's moved east. So you can see that there's connections between upper, so cold here, and then you can bet on the surface it will be a bit milder, or we use warmer, a bit milder this time of year. And of course, the vice versa over here, it's upper a bit warmer, and on the surface it's cooler. And that's just quite normal for the vortex to wobble around like that. It's not disturbed. There's no evidence at all that there's any warming or rapid warming happening in the polar vortex or at anywhere above the South Pole at this stage. So it's looking pretty much uh, business as usual for them. But in saying that, there is an interesting lag coming towards the end of this year, which is why I'm still I'm a bit skeptical about this mega El Nino stuff, and I guess we'll play it nuts. And the reason is because this is the zonal winds. So these are the winds at 10 HPA, and these are often, drive the long-term sort of climate stuff, and they influence things over a period of time. They're not short, rapid stuff. These are long sort of drivers, and you can see the black line is normal climatology, so what we can expect. And then you can see there's a blue and an orange line as well, which is the ensemble means, and the model climate means, which is basically what you should be seeing, what we should. Um, and you'll notice here as we get into October, there's actually quite a signal developing here where the zonal winds are going to be above average, in fact, getting up to like 90 meters a second. And this is interesting because what it normally flags is actually quite a cold outburst, which is why I'm fascinated why they're running with this mega El Nino scenario and try to scare people into oblivion. When these zonal wind forecasts are pretty much flagging that there's going to be some sort of decent coldish outbreak towards the end of September or October, somewhere around this sort of period here. You can see this is your means or your averages, and you can see most of the winds are well above that, which yeah, it's very active upstairs, and it could be and I I'll put this big asterisk next to this because otherwise someone will come in and try and shoot me down. But it does tend to be sometimes connected with Enzo stuff. And of course, it's one factor. It's not a driving factor. It's one factor. These this sort of activity you get upstairs here is these planetary waves, these Rossby waves and that sort of stuff that happen at like way up, the upper levels of the atmosphere. But they, as I said, they tend to be like long-term drivers. So this could be definitely evidence that the Enzo's sort of kicking into gear and getting its bags packed ready to go. Um, Not sure. Yes, there's a whole lot of other sort of factors that come into play, but it is definitely something we'll be keeping an eye on in terms of potential sort of colder outbreak towards the end of mid September onwards through to sort of mid October, maybe even then end of October. Just when people are expecting it to be hot and dry because the mega El Nino is about to come and kill us all, um, could come and completely reversing. So something worth watching. And of course, nothing could possibly happen at all. And so the way things are going on this stage, but that's definitely it's definitely a very interesting signal. You can see, like at the moment with us here, it's pretty much bang on par, and what we've seen, maybe a little bit above. Yeah, something fascinating. So that person who asked about SSW last week, there you go. Hope that answers your question for you. But in all, what do we got? 6:40, bang on time. Yeah, not much happening. In terms of climate drivers, we're just waiting for someone to take control of it. Enzo's trying to take control of it. The forecast of mega El Nino coming, man, we'll see. It's definitely going to be a moderate El Nino. There's no doubt about that. So we can expect that period of warmer, dry weather, but then not unusual to see warmer, dry weather anyway, whether it's either at the start of summer or midway through summer. It's all part of what we get used to it. Just these Enzo situations tend to delay it, make it come earlier or push it later. Whatever it's going to be will be, and we'll obviously get close to the event. We'll keep an eye on the rainfall outlooks for you, and then give you what's going on. All right, well, we're going to pop on. We've just looked at the weather then, and we're going to get on with the stuff now because I want to get into the new segment, weekly weather WTAFs, because this one's a beauty. Now, it involves two one's a page and one's sort of a YouTuber. But I noticed he's got back active again on Facebook. And like I watch everybody, it's always good to get yourself across what's going on out there, what's bubbling away. And this is quite hilarious. This one, that's a Hariki Golf one. I did actually have it out there for you, but there you go. It's actually a page called Cyclone Zols. I don't know if you've ever heard of Cyclone Zols or watched some of his stuff. It's not bad, he tends to lean into some of the hyperbole that we see from other sites, and I'll show you that in a minute. But I just was watching one of his videos the other day, doing my research, keeping a tab across things, and I caught this classic reference to our friends, and you'll recognize who it is once I start playing this. And he has a bit of a rant about them. And I thought it was absolutely hilarious. So this is my weekly weather WTAF moment. I couldn't check, and you'll find out the page. I mean, I don't want to spoil the surprise for you, but I couldn't check the other person, but you'll probably guess why. Now let's see how we go with this. This should play, and hopefully you guys hear it because I've got it.
Bunnings. This is definitely going to be quite a prolific one on the rainfall front, as I've said for about 10
He's talking
times
about
at this point in
a
time.
front over.
I did cite a post yesterday from a less than reputable Facebook page, JWC. I've seen multiple posts from them, and this isn't a call out, but it is quite disappointing to see people who have just gotten back on side with the media and the Bureau of Meteorology across southwestern WA after an impeccable forecast on the weekend. We nailed that. We did. Every single agency nailed that. That cold front lived up to everything that we were expecting, and this page has gone out and said that we're expecting round 2, ding, 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 out to the end of next week. And have a look at this. I mean, this is not the same as what we were looking at yesterday or last week, or last weekend, I should say here. This is a very weak cold front / trough brushing up against the southwestern capes. So please, 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 if you're getting your weather information online, particularly on Facebook, please make sure that they're a reputable account, and just check in with those that you know and trust if you want those answers, because it is quite disappointing to see people, using the less than fortunate that have been significantly impacted by these weather events just for clicks, likes, and money. It is really disappointing, and I felt like I had to make that message today. So please do let me know if you feel like you've been deceived. I'll go and investigate for you. That will do.
I mean, there's some strong language in there. Get chat back there. Feel like you're being deceived. Sorry, chat. Welcome back. I mean, no surprises who the page is. Shock horror. We've had some experiences of calling out their clickbait hyperbole once before, and surprise, surprise. Some strong words there. Like it's, I think Mr. Josh will have to be very careful about words like deceived, because I think you're starting to pop into, things like defamation, slander, that sort of stuff, saying that people are going out deliberately deceiving people. I mean, dodgy. So that was definitely my Weather Weekly WTF, because I thought we've had experience with those goons, and I'm still like banned from the page. I don't know what, we didn't even mention their page, mind you, but I still get harassed by their goons. There was one person even a couple of weeks ago still popping by and slagging off on us, but meh, don't worry me. What do they say? It's the saying, the lion doesn't lose sleep over the cattle or whatever the name is. But I thought this was hilarious because I didn't think Josh is understanding what he's just about to rain down on his head for a start, because the people who run JWC, I think it's called Your Weather Channel now, JWC, can be quite assertive when it comes to trolling people's pages and posting copious amounts of comments and attacking people. Um, and the thing I found most hilarious about this whole thing was about the hyping up situations and taking advantage of people who are vulnerable and bits and pieces. I mean, and people in glass houses should probably not throw stones, Mr. Cyclones Laws, because if I go back and have a look at his page, and we'll do that right now. Um, Tell me what you notice about all the headlines you see. Um, yeah, it's still, you know, super El Nino, mega El Nino, massive storms coming, what was the one I saw just this afternoon? I was like, lol, more rainfall coming, massive storm, bomb cyclone, bomb storms, yeah, bomb cyclone, huge WA storm. I mean, don't get me wrong, some hyperbole is not out of the woods, or it's needed sometimes when there's some situations going down and attention needs to be grabbed. But I mean, you accuse one page of doing it, you always need to make sure that your own backyard is nice and super squeaky clean. But yeah, I don't know. I thought that was my weekly weather. WTF? I just quite love that. Yeah, the interactions of fighting on the weather channels was funny, hilarious. But anyway, that's hope you enjoy the new segment. That's going to be part every week. So again, please, if you see funny posts like that, and I don't care what side it's from, please let me know, because it's on public. If you're going to put it on public and social media, again, I'm gonna feel free that I'm gonna actually raise it and look at it. So, and you're gonna make our weekly weather weekly WTAF list from going on forward, and that will also include comments and stuff like that we've seen on my page and our page. We can all have a laugh. I think that makes it a bit more interesting. Makes it more than just sort of dry climate, boring waffle. Yeah. Wow. Fight, 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 fight. I remember the schoolyard stuff. Anyway, let's go to some questions and we'll get on with that. And oh, I don't know. We're going to bring the chat back. I don't know where he's gone. Yeah, bring chat. Where are you, chat? We'll have a look at some questions. I might actually get back to here so you can see everybody. Questions, questions, questions. All right, let's go. What are the questions today, peeps? We'll go and put the satellite picture on the background. We'll loop it up and quickly have a look at the questions before we head out the door. And let's go. We go 12 hours here. Stick the rainfall on. So anyway, you can see there's not much rain at all. In fact, radar's on. This country is dry. Then you know what? Let's go have a quickly look. Evening, everybody. I've said hello to those people. Let's go down. Mr. Bailey, I saw. G'day, evening. Lovely to see you. Thank you for popping by. Mr. P, sorry to see you popping by as well. I'm not going to try and mash your name again like I do every week, but yeah. No worries. You are welcome as well. Dump of snow for the ski resorts. I don't think, Rach, it's not looking. Not looking. I mean, zonal stuff's good normally for the ski resorts, but it's normally stuff the ski resorts in the sort of the western side, like the Victorian ones, which is like, is it Mount Buller and are they the Victorian ones? I don't know a lot about the snow where the resorts are, to be honest. I just know the western side of ones will get a better dump at this sort of stuff, and so it's normally the Victorians that do better at this. If we want the New South Wales ones to do well as well, Northwest Caravan will help, but then you also want that southerly surge coming up to top it up. And we just really haven't had a lot of that at this stage. And I've looked in the cameras, and I mean, there's obviously some man-made snow, but I can see a lot of natural snow anyway. Good luck to them. I hope for the rort breaks soon, but it doesn't look like it's going to. So, um, Josh doesn't pull his punches. Yeah, well, I think Mr. Josh needs to be careful about what he's punching at sometimes, because he might be actually punching himself in the nose. Using words like deceived is getting into very, very grey and online territory these days, and with people running around threatening to kill people and doxing people, like we saw up in Queensland with the favourite two weather sites we've all seen in the media. So I'm not making anything up there. It was all there in the media. golly, you got to be careful these days. You've got to be careful. Um, yeah, it's just hilarious. And I expect we're going to see a lot more of the weekly WTFs. I mean, I subscribe to one of those pages, not subscribe actually. So I check one of those pages quite regularly because it does give me a chortle, I must say. If I'm feeling a bit flat, a bit blue after a long week, I just go on there and I see the absolute shellacking. Oh, they get quite frequently. And it's always the post about, if you don't like what we say, you can choose to go somewhere else, or, we're going to be blocking and banning people without notice. I'm like, I just don't get these pages. I don't think I know, actually, I've never blocked anybody. I've muted a couple of people because they are deliberately trying. That was actually from those JWC page guys, because I actually did background for them, and they were just trolling people and annoying my members, and I don't like that at all. I don't put up with that crap. I don't mind people arguing. That's part of life. And if you don't argue, you don't learn. You don't, you can get a different perspective. Um, but I crossed the line where people be contrarian for no reason, just because they would need to be, because they come from another page, so they want to cause trouble. Yeah, yeah, they don't wash to me. So I don't block. You just mute them. They think they're still talking, making themselves look smart, and really no one's hearing them. It's the best part. It makes me laugh so hard. But yeah, I think it's like 3 people from that page. Otherwise, I don't block people. I just don't believe in it, unless, of course, they're breaking the law, of course, and saying horrific stuff. And of course, absolutely. But Facebook normally deal with them anyway, so I don't have to deal with them. We've been pretty fortunate, actually, because we're a great bunch of people. People just want to come along and read their bits and pieces. They don't want the drama. I don't want the drama. We want to just get some information, have some fun, have a laugh, get a bit of sass going, a bit of banter going every now and then. But I this is the issue when you run pages that are clickbait and hype driven, is that you get these extremes. You get you get the whites and you get the darks from both sides of the fence. You get the people who are just sycophants, who just, no matter what the page does, they do no wrong. And then of course you get the other side, the trolls, which is like anything the page does, they're always wrong. And I see that quite often in Brisbane, those I almost said it, but those Queensland pages as well. And I mean, I feel a bit sad for him, to be honest, but you know what? You've made your bed, you lie in it, to be fair. Um, but I mean, how many posts? I know it must be at least twice a week saying, if you don't follow our rules, you're going to be banned, and banning without notice. I'm like, I don't think I've ever in the years I've run this page ever put anything out of even close to that saying, if you don't follow the thing, you're going to be banned. You guys just all well behaved. So thank you. Cheers to you with the best behaved weather page in the whole of Australia. In fact, probably the whole of the world, actually. Because I mean, I've seen the weather pages, even local ones close to us, who've had issues with people, and they take it all so personally. Sometimes some of the comments frustrate me because they don't see behind the scenes, um, and they don't see obviously the work that I put into doing a lot of the stuff. But meh, and so the line doesn't get worried about what is it, the cattle think, or what that saying is going to be. And anyway, my evidence of work is all there. You can see what time the satellite images are pulled down of a morning and what time my forecast comes out, so you can really work out how long I've spent doing stuff. It ain't rocket science, and I'll do it exactly that way for a reason. There's an audit trail, so to speak. You can see what time I've been doing what and when. Simple as that. Um, just I don't know, just unnecessary people that carrying on like that. But we've got a great page, so let's keep it that way. 2 years ago, Ken was flooding again. Oh, that's right. Yep, it was around this time, June. Yeah, June. Long weekends. I think best days to know this week would be tomorrow's be okay. Tuesday dodgy. Wednesday should be fine. I think there might be a leftover shower, but I don't. Access. We saw before in the forecast. You saw that there was a shower sort of been flagged for sort of. I'm not sure about that. I just think Tuesday probably would give a miss, but I reckon Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at this stage should be fine, and the weekend should be okay as well. But of course, if it changes, see on the page. But yeah, I don't think that. I think Tuesday's probably going to be. But in the end, I don't 100%. I wouldn't actually cancel mine on Tuesday because best is going to be some drizzle, which won't stop you, and it may even be like evening overnight anyway. So it won't even. I think just go 5 days a week, and if it changes then dramatically, obviously you'll hear from me, but. I don't think anything's going to be that impactful to business for anybody east of the Great Dividing Range this week, to be fair. Um, uh, uh, It's saying that Copernicus is UK based. Yeah, no, Copernicus is actually Euro based. It's the European whatever it is climate. It's basically it's the climate agency that's been set up by the EU. It uses all the various models, EC, JMA. The Japanese models are actually great weather models. They just don't give a lot of access to them, but they're actually really, really good. And they have a quite a focus on the us as well, which is great. So you tend to get a lot of their products covering us. Just it's very hard to get some. You can get to their site and you can translate, but sometimes the meaning is lost in translation. Um, and set phases to dry roast, absolutely. Um, Cloud Seeders comments, yeah, they don't worry me because they just make idiots of themselves. Like the more they open their mouths, the more people go, well, these people are nuts. Like they think that a little Cessna is going to somehow magically seed these, trillions of liters of moisture that are needed for some of these weather systems. Like, come on, can't be that stupid. I mean, and the energy required is more than the whole global energy budget at this stage to create some of this stuff. And that whole is just lost to them. I mean, they're a bit like the sycophants you see of these other weather pages. You point some facts out to them, and they have no retort other than it's happening. You're a denier. Well, okay, of course I'm denying it because the science says it's just impossible. Um, anyway, I love it. I love it. And they don't overwhelm us like other pages do. You know why? It's because other pages bite back. And when you bite back and you show that interest to them, it brings more of them. They're like, oh, what's that insect? Like one there, and then the next, they're all, like not ants because ants are just doing their business normally. Wasps, or bees, that's stuff, one, and the next, you've got a whole bloody hive on top of you stinging the crap out of you. That's how they operate. Like, if you just, oh yeah, bat them back and say, oh, no worries, and, ask them a couple of questions, they don't normally get the masses and set them onto you. They just twiddle off when the event settles down and goodbye. But man, if you stoke them and you try and start blocking them or you start threatening them or you start putting those posts out saying, people who talk about climate change or, climate seeding or, 5G going to be banned instantly, you flush out more. You just ask for trouble. Don't give them the airtime. They always say, like in media management, when people have, all these sort of issues, and in the media, the best thing is just shut your mouth and just roll it out for a couple of days, and it ends up going away. The more you get back into the media, and the more you comment and stuff, the more it's going to drag it out longer and longer, and the more it's just going to go on and on and on. But talking about that, I'm not sure if you guys watch any sort of YouTube stuff, but has anybody seen that Lego situation in America? That is absolutely freaking wow. If you haven't and you don't mind YouTube series, look up the Lego thing in Utah. And American Fork is the police agency. Um, you will be absolutely gobsmacked. Trust me, it is worth watching. There's a guy called Ben. It's what's his something Ben? I never remember his name. I've very rarely seen any of his YouTube stuff. He's one of those YouTube sort of agitating sort of stuff that creates all these sort of situations, get video of it. Anyway, some guy who lost his $200,000 worth of Star Wars Lego. He's like basically his legacy, but to this Lego shop called Bricks and something like that in America. Anyway, it was on consignment, something like that. Anyway, they diddled him out of it. It was 200 grand's worth, and no one was going to help him. He couldn't afford a lawyer, so he went to this guy Ben and said, "Can you help me out?" And he said, "Yeah." And so then they started this whole process to try and get this money back. Anyway, they go to a long story short, they go to this place in Utah, because we all know Utah is full of Mormons, to serve the court stuff on him. Obviously, as you have to do, get him to court to get some of the money back, the debts back. And the police in this town in Utah, literally, oh my God, I'm not going to spoil it for you. Just wow, man. Just go and see it. Like, even if you're not a big YouTube documentary sort of person, or, sort of grind you, because some of that grinds me the ways. But it is absolutely worth watching. And I've been watching a few of the lawyers over there get involved too, like a guy called Legal Mindset. He's excellent, like from the American perspective. He pulls everything apart and goes to the law. There's a couple other ones who've been commenting on it. It is just worth watching. Trust me. Even if you're not a big YouTube person, just watch the 5, 10, 15-minute highlight ones. It is worth your time because the level of corruption and the level where these American Fork police have literally got and I'm lost for words how to even explain it, but they go all have body cams. They redacted these body cams. They dodgy the body cams up. They did all this stuff, and then they uploaded them by accident, the whole lot, including the unredacted stuff, to the internet. So the person that they're prosecuting, literally for some criminal charges, they put all their body cam footage of the stuff up on the internet, showing them talking about how they're going to set him up and get these charges against him. And oh man, it is just, it is worth the while. Trust me. You are, oh my God, it is. You think about Legos, you think, oh my God, Lego sounds boring. Well, actually, the Lego part's boring. Get to the rest of the stuff. Holy, and they pull him over, and this guy who's the dodgy guy and stole the $200,000 obviously was in good with the cops, rang the cops and said he had heroin in the car. This guy had heroin in his car, so they put him over to a 3-hour stretch on the side of the road. He clearly stopped at a stop sign. They put him over for going through a stop sign and again put him out. They arrested him 3 or 4 times. They arrested all his friends. They swatted his house with machine guns because the Airbnb owner apparently heard them saying they had stolen Legos. They like went through and got it, but they left their video filming while they were doing the search. You can hear them talking about stuff. Oh, it is wow. I mean, wow, it's just worth it. Worth it. And every time another video comes out, I'm just like, oh, what's going to happen next? And I think there's a court matter coming up soon too. It's just going to be interesting to see exactly, yeah, how the law deals with it, because the law failed, so people took the law into their own hands. Now the law is trying to play catch up, and the cop situation though is just, I don't know how they've been arrested, or the FBI hadn't been involved. Actually, it's wow. I mean, you've heard, we've all sort of suspected and heard stuff like that happening, but to get it actually on camera and see it in their own body camera, and you can hear them, wow, so worth it. Trust me, looking at that. Um, yeah, it's just, yeah, amazing. No, I haven't spoken with Trace yet at all. I don't actually, I can't message people actually through Facebook unless they message us. It's such a stupid thing. It's like they have to message you. I could probably try and look her up. I've had other stuff, other dramas to deal with today. Um, but I'll try and catch up with her. I was hoping she might be on tonight, but she's obviously not. All right, I'm going to get out of here. It's 7 o'clock. I need to go and pick up the better half and serve them their meal, which I've dutifully cooked this afternoon. Lol. In the midst of the chaos, that I should take a picture of it there and show you what I'll put the image of the smashed table that I did this afternoon and cut all my hand open up on there later. But yeah, I've had one of those days. All right, well, that is it. Have a great evening. Thanks for your company, everybody, and we'll catch you online. And we'll see you this week. Enjoy. Thanks again, and have a good one. Good night.